Hello, everybody, and hello from Dublin. And thank you, India and Sandra, for hosting this year's Next. And of course, welcome to all of you, our tech partners and our developer community. We're so glad you're here. As you know, today's the day you're going to hear from our Avalara technology leaders, and then tomorrow you'll hear from our partners. I'm going to kick it off today by talking about our developer community, and then I'm going to show you some very cool technology demos. These demos use generative AI and Chat GPT, and you don't want to miss these demos, I promise you. I want to start off by talking to all of you developers. Avalara NEXT is all about sharing our knowledge, our best practices, and our latest technology. Everything that makes it easier for you to do what you need to do, for your companies and for your customers. So let's catch up on what we've been doing for you since we last met. Last year, we talked about our expanding online developer community, and it continues to grow steadily week by week. It's really become a phenomenal resource. And we've seen over 50,000 of you visit our community support portal. Any API questions that you have, they get answered quickly by Avalara support and by other experts. We thank you for being part of this ever-growing community. And in addition to all the great knowledge sharing that goes on, it's also an opportunity for you to give us feedback. And we've been listening very closely to your suggestions and to your ideas. And some of the latest features we've rolled out are as a result of that feedback. Here they are. A reaction feature, so you can let us know how you feel about certain posts. A social share feature, so you can easily share blogs to your social platforms. A read time feature, so you know how long it's going to take to read a blog, just like you see in your news feed. And a popularity feature, so you know which blogs are trending with your colleagues all over the world. We've also learned from you this past year that many of you easily find the answers you need simply by searching the forum or by following up on threads under each post. And that's especially good news for us because it means you're working together to solve issues and you're sharing what you're learning. So remember, as our community continues to grow, all of our developer documentation, our tools, and our resources are available to you at developer.avalara.com. Okay, now let's talk about what's new for some specific developer groups. In the WordPress developer community, we know how busy you are building e-commerce websites all over the world. And WooCommerce is one of the main plugins you use, and we've made a very, very useful WooCommerce exemption certificate management integration. GoDaddy's Becca Rice, a WooCommerce expert, will be featured in a session tomorrow that you don't want to miss. For Salesforce developers, Avalara will be the first tax compliance provider available in Salesforce Service Cloud. And this new integration will be the 9th connector in our portfolio of Salesforce integrations. It enables sales tax calculation for products and services within Service Cloud. And it also allows users to easily map custom fields from Salesforce over to Avatax. Rama Pitla has a great session tomorrow that explores what's new with Salesforce. For Microsoft Dynamics systems integrators who are connecting ERP systems into Avalara, you'll be happy to know that we've enhanced Business Central and we've made our exemption certificate management system more comprehensive. It now allows users to see exemption information on the customer card, on the sales order, and on the sales quote. Tomorrow, Brian Rouchet will join some Avalarians to talk about extending Avalara connectors for Dynamics. And for the NetSuite community, you know, we've been partnering with NetSuite for almost the entire time Avalara has been in business. And we'll be featured at Suite World, their big conference in Las Vegas in October. We'll start our partner day tomorrow with a great conversation about our mutually beneficial partnership with NetSuite and how it's grown and evolved over the years. And you will hear how our NetSuite connectors continue to expand to include specialty tax calculations. I'd also like to welcome our certified implementation partners. You're the ones who implement and connect the systems that accounting firms use, like Avalara Returns for Accountants, a practice management software that helps deliver sales tax compliance to a firm's clients. You're helping these firms leverage proven software that can turn sales tax prep and returns into a profit center and growth driver. And it comes with the added benefits of reduced risk and time savings, which are brought about by the automation of administrative and repetitive tasks. So we get it. Global compliance is vast and it's complex. And that's why we here at Avalara say that our mission is to make compliance less taxing and more relaxing. And we're always seeking feedback from developers, from partners, and from our customers, and from our very own employees. Please keep your feedback coming, and we'll keep improving our products. That's part of why Avalara NEXT has evolved to focus on both developers and technology partners, because our partner ecosystem is so important to your future success and to the success of Avalara. So we're finding even more ways to increase our partner involvement. Later this year in November, we have a conference called Fuse that will focus directly on our partners, and you'll hear more about that in coming weeks. Okay, now let's look ahead. But before we do, I want to acknowledge what a year we've had. Most of you all know already about the acquisition of Avalara by Vista Equity Partners. That's meant a lot of internal change for us, as you might expect. But of course, we're still Avalara. And with Vista's proven experience and investment, we're becoming more efficient, we're moving faster, and we're growing. Yet, we're still guided by what I said at last year's Next. Avalara's platform is built by developers for developers. I'm so proud of our engineering team, located all over the world. They keep delivering new features and new innovation. And I'd like to highlight a few product advances we've recently made. Everything I'm talking about right now is part of our compliance platform. Our platform is the reliable foundation that is powered by the Avalara Compliance Cloud. When you connect to us, you're connecting to advanced technology and content in the cloud that will help you reduce and oftentimes significantly reduce the complexity of tax compliance. We provide a comprehensive set of global solutions. And as you're all aware, compliance is very important for every business, from small to large, from multinational to accounting firms, to retailers, and any business that has to deal with tax exemptions. We know that the companies you work for and your customers are doing business all over the world. So we take an Avalara without borders approach to compliance and to our product suite. And now it's time to share with you the most important product we've been working on: e-invoicing and live reporting. So why is this important? It's important because governments and countries globally continue to mandate e-invoicing as part of their tax policy. The proliferation of e-invoicing is upon us. It hasn't hit the US yet in a big way, but it will before very long. We've posted an easy-to-follow integration guide into our developer community. It's for our technology partners and any API developer whose integrations will support e-invoicing. It shows you the steps to follow in order to integrate e-invoicing functionality into your ERP system. And if you follow the integration steps provided in the guide, you'll be able to submit a document, check the status of a submitted document, retrieve a summary of documents sent and received, and download the available formats of a document. It's simple, it's thorough, it's everything you need. In fact, you'll be hearing about it in the very next session. Sid Nagul and Leo Nagueria will talk about our global API approach next. Sid will join from India, and Leo will join from Sao Paulo in Brazil. Another product I would like to mention is Exemption Certificate Management, or ECM. Our ECM API is ready to scale, and we have 2 sessions that will explore the importance of exemption certificate management. Bob Maidens will bring you the very first one today, and Sagat Halder in India will lead a session tomorrow. Exemption certificate management is a huge issue, especially for large companies who are shipping across state lines in the US or internationally. ECM needs to be a seamless part of those transactions, and now it is. For Avatax, we're announcing a new update to our Accounts Payable API. This is our new consumer use tax API. The update will reduce the complexity of configuration and provide a single place in which to view, to act on, and to report on use tax transactions flowing through the system. We're also migrating all current Avalara consumer use functionality over to Avatex. And we're launching 5 new API extractors that will improve how source data enters Avalara returns for accountants and Avalara managed returns for accountants. As you know, many of our extractors are used by many of our customers that we prepare returns for internally, as well as for many of our accounting partners. And these extractors streamline the data ingestion process, which frees up time for firms to better focus on the services that they provide. These extractors will enable Avalara Returns Console to pull data from these 5 data sources, from Shopify, from Amazon, from Walmart, from QuickBooks Online, and from Xero. And you can learn more in tomorrow's session from Xero. Now I want to share with you some of the things we're doing with generative AI and with machine learning. Did you know that Avalara has one of the largest global tax compliance content repositories in the world? And this repository contains tax rates, rules, forms, and all the content required to power all the solutions built on our platform. And this repository is growing with each day. Inside Avalara, we're using Gen AI and machine learning to curate and classify all this content. Here's another example of how we're using Gen AI inside Avalara. Internally, our universal document router uses machine learning to classify thousands of notice documents that we receive every day from tax authorities. The technology is really cool. It extracts key information from the notice and triggers it to be processed by the correct Avalara product for the correct customer. It saves us thousands of hours. We also use AI and machine learning to match thousands of products every day to international HS tariff codes for our customers who are selling and shipping products across international borders. And now, this brings us to ChatGPT. We recently announced that Avalara has a ChatGPT plugin in the OpenAI marketplace. And we decided to do this at a time when some companies were taking more of a wait-and-see approach to Gen AI. But even in these early stages, we see great potential. Take a look at this. So imagine, instead of me working for Avalara, my business makes and sells shoes. And our most popular shoes cost $200. And I'm going to start selling them in Austin, Texas, in the US. So I need to know, how much sales tax do I charge? So I log into ChatGPT on my laptop. Let's do it. First, I'm going to download and install the Avalara plugin from the OpenAI marketplace. And then I type, what's the sales tax for shoes that cost $200 at my store location, which is 12400 Cedar Street, Austin, Texas, 78732. Hit return. And using Avalara and our tax content, ChatGPT is able to give me the exact tax answer that I'm looking for. And it gives me the answer in a natural, easy to understand language. No legal jargon, it's that simple. And now I know how much tax we need to add to those $200 shoes. $16.50. Thank you, ChatGPT. Thank you, Avalara. Remember, Avalara has the largest global tax compliance content repository in the world. So it makes sense for us to take advantage of a large language model like ChatGPT. Remember, we use generative AI to source, to extract, to organize, and to publish that vitally important content so ChatGPT can grab it. If you connect your applications to Avalara, you're accessing the largest and most accurate compliance content repository in the world. And speaking of AI, last year we showed you a cool demo of Avalara Studio. Avalara Studio is a low-code way to create connectors. Connectors connect customer applications over to Avalara's compliance platform, and they also map and transform customer data so it can be consumed by Avalara's solutions. These connectors also contain workflows and business processes and service orchestrations. Later today, Carolyn Shaw and Vishal Shetty, they're going to show you how to build a simple integration for e-invoicing in Avalara Studio. But right now, I want to show you something new. I want to show you something cool, something we've been working on for some time. How could we use generative AI to build a simple integration or a connector in Avalara Studio? A big shout out to Rahul Agarwal and his team in India for developing what we're calling Avalara Studio Copilot. And now I want to hand it over to Thomas Goldschmidt in Germany to take us through this very cool demo. Thomas?
Thank you, Danny. That ChatGPT demo was good, but let me show you something that's really cool. It's something we're working on for Avalara Studio, and we're calling it Copilot. But first, let's think back. Remember in the old days when it took a lot of time to build a connector? It was very code heavy then, right? But then last year, things really improved. We introduced a low-code environment called Avalara Studio. It made things so much simpler. With Avalara Studio, all you had to do was write a small amount of code, do some data mapping, and write a workflow. But you had to do it all of that by hand. Some would say that's enough, but not at Avalara. We know the future can be even better. What we are working on now is a no-code environment. That's right. We want to bring it as close to autopilot as we can, and for that, we are leveraging generative AI to create connectors in Avalara Studio. So you can spend less time doing repetitive coding and more time delivering value to your users. So let's get into it now. Basically, when you create connectors in Studio, there are several tasks that need to be done in order to integrate your source system with Avalara. 3 tasks that require significant effort are creating adapters, workflows, and transformation mappings. So what we have done to improve this experience in Avalara Studio is to leverage generative AI to simplify these tasks for the developers and shorten the time taken for executing them. Let us go to the demo and see that. Let's assume we want to build a new connector for our company's ERP system. As I mentioned, the first task is to create an adapter. An adapter is basically a piece of code that you write to interact with your different source systems via the APIs. Here, instead of going the manual way of creating a new adapter, we'll use our new generative AI approach for creating it. All you need to do is to enter a name for the new adapter. Let's call it OPA adapter. Then I provide the URL of the source system where the API is documented. This does not have to be a computer-readable OpenAPI specification. The AI can also work with user-facing documentation. So whether you have a Swagger file or API documentation online, tell our AI where to find it. Then I click on Process. So while processing, what the system does is it will go through that documentation and it will identify the different API endpoints that can be used to interact with that source system. As you can see, it has identified 3 different endpoints, and I will select all of them. And I say Generate. So the adapter is being generated. We let this finish. As you can see now, the adapter was successfully generated. So here you can see the piece of code that I was talking about previously. This is the code that the AI has written for us. It interacts with the source system and provides different methods that it has generated for the selected endpoints, in this case, companies, invoices, and customers. These methods already provide basic functionality to fetch the data that will be required in this connector. In the past, you had to write all this code by hand, and after studying a bunch of API documentation for both your ERP and Avalara. Last year, with Studio, we made it so that you only had to write the core portion. Now with Copilot, it is generating most of it for you. What used to take days in the past became hours last year. Now it's done in minutes. For more complex use cases, you can now add additional required code to complete the development of the adapter, which brings us to the next step in the process. Let's go to Apps and see how we can use this adapter when developing a connector. I have already prepared an app to which we will add a new workflow to. So the next task is to create that new workflow, which will define how the data flows from the source ERP system to Avatags. So let's click on Create New Workflow. Let's call it Sales Tax Workflow. Here we can now choose to let the AI generate the workflow based on an adapter. I will select the adapter that we just created. Sales tax is the integration type that we want to use in this case. Then I will let the AI do the rest by clicking Generate Workflow. So what it does, basically, it will create the different triggers, the workflow steps, and the transformation mappings that are required for this particular connector between the ERP and Avatex. So as you can see, the new workflow has been created. Let us check it out. So this is the basic workflow that was generated. First, it fetches the invoice from the source system. Then it does the transformation mappings, and finally calls Avatex to determine the taxes. You can add additional steps to this as required. Within this workflow, there is another important step that the AI has created for us, which is the transformation mapping. Normally, this would have been a manual task, but the generative AI did help us here as well. As you can see, it has mapped the data that we get from the ERP, which in this case is the invoice, to the data structure that Avatex needs as its input. Now, all we have to do is to verify these mappings. Remember, before Studio, all this had to be done via code, and it would take days. With Studio, we made this easy, but it still had to be done by hand. For example, these two mappings here look good, but this mapping here is incorrect. So what I can do, I can just delete it and create the correct mapping like this, and I'm good to go. After that, I deploy the connector, and your users can start calculating taxes on their invoices. How easy is that? So to conclude, that is how we leverage generative AI to automate the majority of the work and shorten the time that is required for these major steps while creating a connector using Avalara Studio. Danny, back to you.
Now, that's innovation in progress. Thank you, Thomas. This is just one example of how we're going to keep making it simpler and quicker for our customers and for our partners to build your integrations, or what we call connectors, using Avalara Studio. We have so many great sessions coming up, and I know I've mentioned a few so far, but there's more, and I just want to set some context for them. On this very first day of Next, we're showing you scale, speed, and we're showing you convenience. It's all about Avalara's ability to be where you are and to help you move fast and to keep your costs down. The session on Avatex and our edge technology will show you there are no sacrifices to scalability when you simplify compliance. By leveraging multiple edge environments all around the world, we're reducing the amount of data we need to keep close to our customers' applications, and that we need to move backwards and forwards across the internet. That reduces latency. MongoDB clusters make all of that possible, and another of our sessions is a panel discussion of what we've learned when we migrated our flagship Avatex service over to MongoDB. You'll also hear about our scalable data program, and you'll want to let your finance folks know about our cloud cost optimization session, where Lindbergh Matulano showcases how he has helped save Avalara millions of dollars each year, and maybe your company can do the same. The tax compliance is not just a US requirement, it's global. In our VAT products in EMEA session, our team explores new data integration capabilities for reinforcing our global approach to compliance. And in our session on GraphQL, an open source query language that some of you are already familiar with, you'll get to see how we're getting the most value out of leveraging the right technology for the right purpose, something we're always focused on. Now, if you remember, earlier I talked about how important e-invoicing is to us and to businesses around the world. Well, in fact, this week at Oracle Cloud World, Oracle is announcing Avalara e-invoicing pre-integrated into their Fusion ERP cloud. This is a demonstration of our deep partnership and our deep integration with Oracle. Avalara and Oracle were engineered to work really, really well together. And this is also another example of Avalara's multi-cloud strategy. We also have a session on turbocharging your teams. And in this session, you'll hear about our secret sauce for productivity. By leveraging the best practices of our software development lifecycle, our SDLC, we're able to drive efficiencies that have had a huge impact on Avalara's bottom line. And this applies not just to the software engineering team, but all across the business. And we've also got a great session on how we support seamless integrations for Avatex developers. And of course, we'll take a look at how seriously Avalara takes security. That's your security and our security. And today, in our closing session, Mark Wilhelm, he's going to show you why you want to become a certified Avalara partner if you aren't one already. Tomorrow, during Partner Day, I've mentioned a few of the sessions, but we have many. We've got Annie Bill exploring tax payment services for Avalara's returns for accountants. Sage is here to talk about our partnership and the success it's enabled for their customers. Epicor will share how our partnership with them helps their customers calculate sales tax at any stage of the process. And you'll hear how we've partnered to build a global tax platform with Google. Acumatica is here to talk about how we help them with their use tax functionality. And eBay, they're going to highlight our cross-border solutions and how they help with international shipping. And our very own Prashant Rana will help share our perspective on the global e-commerce ecosystem. There's so much to see and so much to share. And as India and Sandra have said so already, those sessions are on 2 tracks. So be sure to come back and watch the ones you didn't see the first time round. All of the sessions will be online after next, so there's plenty of time to stream them and to share them with your colleagues. I'm so glad you could join us, and I don't think any of us could have predicted that some of the most exciting technology in the world would end up happening in the area of tax compliance, and it just keeps getting more and more exciting. So, I raise a glass to all of you from here in Dublin, and I thank you for being here. Cheers, or as we say in Ireland, sláinte. Thanks, everybody.